Good morning, Dina. Good morning, Ethan. I wanted to make a video um, about my whole editing process on the film. Uh, I don't know. I'm so swamped lately that I don't know if I'm going to have a moment to actually get out to meet y'all, but hopefully it'll still happen. If it doesn't, I wanted you to still have this so that you have kind of a resource to refer to if you need to. So what I've kind of set up is I'm on scene three. I'm gonna give full disclosure here at the beginning. This has been tricky. One of the trickier things to work on, because there were mistakes that were made, and I'm not gonna call anybody out on it. It's my job to do my best to fix the mistakes. And make them not visible, but it has made the editing process a little tough. We'll say that. And there are little rules to remember if you're ever making your own film, or when you make your own film. Hold on, let me empty my trash. Things like make sure your audio is running on your cameras, because even though you're recording separate audio that's really clean, if your camera is not also recording audio, then the editing software can't sync up those things. And so you just get a video of talking heads, but it's not synced up to anything. And I was discovering a lot of footage where that was the case. Now, luckily, I come from animation, character animation specifically. So a long time ago, I had to learn how to recognize mouth shapes to figure out what people were saying. And so for some of it, I was able to manually sync up simply by looking at people's mouths and know kind of what they're saying, and then go find the audio that matched it or matched it close enough. And luckily I didn't need those shots for a long time, and I'll point those out. But that's one of the issues. The other one is on-set issues, which you'll see in scene 3. We still have them, but we're going to try to work through those. In scene 1, here, let me pull it up. So this is the opening scene, and let's let it kind of play. Hopefully it plays. It's not lagging too bad. It might lag. Anyway, car pulls in.
This is it.
This is what?
So the red marker here, or these red tracks, these are the ones that had no audio on them. But this was the opposite camera of this camera. And so I was able to pull the audio from this track and use it for this to get her to say this line.
This is what?
Now, I don't know if it's exactly this take, but people tend to speak, and when you've done a lot of films, you'll find people tend to speak similar ways when they're acting, doing the same thing. The inflections might change, but the cadence is typically the same. That's why people are able to go back and do ADR later on, which is automated dialogue replacement, I think is what that stands for. Where they'll go in a booth and they'll re-record their lines, and what they do there is typically they will, and you may know all this already, but if you don't, what they'll do is they'll watch their own lines and listen to it, and then they'll basically mimic themselves, and they'll just record it the exact same time. And they'll say, like, this is what, this is what, this is what, and they'll say it a bunch of different times to make sure it syncs up. Actors, once they do it a lot, they get pretty fast at it, but I essentially did a patch ADR here. Yeah. You'll notice the color is different because the camera operator shot in two separate color profiles, excuse me. one shot in H.264 MOV files and one shot in RAW. So this is a RAW file. And so that's going to be a little bit of a challenge later on to go back through and match colors, but they're both Blackmagic cameras, so they should be fine. I have a Blackmagic. I've colored Blackmagic cameras before, so hopefully that won't be an issue.
This is what?
But anyway, we'll go back to the start of this, and I'll just play it through, and then you'll see a couple sections where something looks funny, and then I'll point that out of what I did real quick.
This is it.
This is what?
The surprise.
You mean we're not lost?
No. Our lives are a distraction. We just need a chance to cancel out all the noise and just simply reflect.
I'm beginning to reflect a lot right now, actually.
That's weird.
What's weird?
I wasn't expecting no one to be here.
All right, all right, all right. Hello there.
Yeah, hello?
I think this is a sign we should leave.
Are you Tony and Angel? Because I thought it was a self-check-in.
Nah, I'm Daniel. This is Nicole. We work here on the farm. Take care of the animals. And whatever else might need taken care of.
I don't think that was part of the package.
Not normally, but we're just running behind today. Get settled in. I'll show you around.
All right.
So there's a couple things in this scene that I had to figure out. They broke the 180 rule quite a bit, and the characters weren't always standing exactly where they needed to because they shot some of this earlier in the day, it looks like, and some of it later in the day. I wasn't on set, so I'm not entirely sure. It's speculation based on looking at the footage. This is early. I think this is earlier in the day based on the sun. This might be later in the day. It's small things. You don't really notice it. And that's one of the things I would say in editing is the lighting doesn't necessarily match on their faces. Here it's pretty harsh lighting. And in the close-ups, it's soft lighting. As an editor, I don't typically focus on that. What I'm focusing on is performance because people are more focused on that as well. You want to cut. In my opinion, you want to cut for the reactions, and if there are small little technical issues. I mean, they're not small, but technical issues that you can't worry about, then always focus on what you think is the best reaction. And for instance, like here, her eye line is not exactly the same, but these are small, like his head is more turned here, but you don't catch it. Like when you're just watching it, I feel like you don't, they're looking in generally the same direction. It's fairly quick. People aren't noticing it. There's a perspective change because you're a little bit lower here. So just little tricks like that. Just cutting for the reaction. What do you think is the best reaction? I chose this angle of Daniel, I think is the character's name, because of his eye line relationship mostly to a lot of the other characters. The other cuts, and I wonder, or cameras. Let me see if I can see if I pull up another camera. Let's see what this is. Nope, that's inside. Inside barn. These are all over the place. I mean, the first thing you do is you bring a bunch of files in, but they, you shoot out of order, so I didn't really go through and organize it in here because when I did a camera sync up, it synced up the scenes and then I just built it out in a main timeline. I'm sure somebody would tell me that's the wrong way to do it, but this is the angle I chose for him. Just because theoretically the way you're looking at it, you can't even see my hands, but the male character, I'm blanking on their names, but the male character's over in this section, the female character's over in this section. So when he's talking to the right person. They kept breaking the 180 rule, which I don't know if that was explained to you on set or if you're aware of it, but the 180 rule is where once you set a camera on a certain side of a group of people, there's like an invisible line that you don't cross that cuts down the middle to the other side. They didn't adhere to that. And one of the biggest glaring areas is actually, I managed to hide some of it because I flipped what is it, this shot I flipped? Or one of these shots I flipped in order to get them on the right side. This one. So, I had to flip the foreground characters, but the background characters needed to stay the same. So, it's the same shot, but this is masked out in the middle. What I'm going to have to go back and try to do is camera track, like stabilize and camera track this, and then try to roto this out and get them looking like they're walking in the grass back there. Typically, this is not required. Most editors would not do this sort of thing. Again, I have a background in visual effects and animation, and so I have a little bit of technical know-how to be able to try to solve issues like that. But typically, you're not going to do that. But you can anyone who's worked on it can tell later on that this shot is flipped, because if you look, the barn is over here, and then over here where it's correct, the barn's on the other side. Again, though, people aren't going to be looking at that. They're going to be looking at the performances of characters. So, again, cut for the performance. That's one of the major issues I had with scene one that we were working through. Making sure camera issues are correct, making sure characters are in the same area that they're supposed to be in. I personally would have liked a little bit more back and forth coverage, but directorial choices are different. So, not my circus, not my monkeys, as they say. I mean, this is my circus. I'm having to work on it, but yeah. So that's scene one. Scene two was much easier. Again, I had a few issues with. We weren't missing any footage, and by that time, all the audio syncage stuff had been worked out. Sorry, the kids and everybody have been sick, so I've got a little bit of something. But what was I saying? Scene two. I'm in Premiere, by the way. I don't know if I said that at the beginning. Or you can be in DaVinci. The layouts are basically the same. The concept is the same. You have a timeline that you're building things in. The way I like to work, because I'm a working editor, so I edit a lot of television, and the way I usually work through that is I break things up into scenes or segments. Something I don't like that Premiere does is when you crunch things down into a scene, it'll leave the audio. It'll bring the audio in, and it'll also leave in. I don't know if DaVinci does this as well, but it'll leave audio here because for some reason it doesn't. It used to keep or play the audio from the video track. It doesn't do that anymore. That's not a huge deal because what they've done now in Premiere, typically now their idea is that you work in scenes and then you can just drag in it and it'll drop all the audio and stuff in like that. And so that's what I'll do at the end. But for the meantime, I'm just working in individual scenes. That way I can like focus. I'm not having to look at a giant timeline. I'm just looking at a specific thing. Oh, this was one. The red ones again are where the audio was non-existent, and I had to sync it up with existing audio. So there wasn't a couple issues, but it worked out. We got it synced up. They were mostly reaction shots of her, and it was really only 1 or 2 takes from that angle. Now, what I would have preferred as an editor is to have all of his stuff is shot from the side. I would have preferred to have another camera angle from over here looking at him, and so you could get a little bit of more of a back and forth. Because there wasn't, I was hesitant to use this angle, but sometimes it was a better angle, a better take for her, and so I did that. I actually may end up cutting this scene down some more.
Listen, baby. Before we get settled in, let us allow the farmhouse to show us around.
And now we're getting into scene 3. Scene 3 I haven't touched at all. This is typically what I'm looking at. What I've gone through is I've marked a couple takes that I like in gold. Oh, and this is something I wanted to point out, is paying attention to trajectory. What I mean by that is if you're directing a film, if I can help directors or producers, whoever, camera operators even, keeping the mindset of the editing bay on the back end, then it's immensely helpful. It makes your film go so much smoother and so much easier. And one of those things is paying attention to, I call it trajectory. I came into editing from an animation world, so some of the terminology I use is different. But you want to make sure the action is always clear of where it's going. And so at the end of scene 2, let me bring this up. At the end of scene 2, they leave to screen right. And so logic would dictate that they would enter from screen left. But they don't. They enter from screen right. Now, I haven't put them back to back together yet. It might not be so jarring because it is a change in scene. But here they're walking from the road. They're not walking from the house. What I would have done is, if it was me directing, I would have had a shot of them coming out of the house, and I would follow them till I see the barn in the distance and have them walking away towards the barn. Then you can switch angles or whatnot you want to do, which is what happens here because they enter from screen left. So this is correct, where they left this scene going this way, and they enter the barn coming this way. And this is where I may lose this shot entirely, simply because it bothers me that they're walking the opposite direction. It's a fun little bit with her stepping in the mud and high heels and having issues, but it might not ultimately be necessary. I can't fix it by flipping it. Let's see, flip. Because I initially thought, I could, just flip the shot and then, they're walking the right direction. But the thing that I worry about is when you flip the shot, she's on the left, he's on the right, and then when they come into the next shot, he's on the left and she's on the right. And so this is been a reoccurring issue. Again, it might not even be necessary to have this, because they've established that they're going to see the farmhands. You could theoretically just have them show up and see the farmhands. And this is what I'm looking at. This is got multiple angles. So it's 2 cameras, 1 audio track. This extra blue audio tracks could probably actually go, if you really just didn't want to deal with them. They're not the they're the camera audio. This section here is the main audio. But I'm going to keep them for the time being, because sometimes camera audio is better. It's very rare, but sometimes. So just keep it till the end. You don't have to get rid of it till the end. Don't worry about music or anything like that until the end of your edit also. Unless your edit is tied to music. If it's like tied to music and you need to cut to the beat, then it makes sense to go ahead and bring in your music tracks. But right now, I'm not worrying about sound. I'm not worrying about music. I'm just trying to get the flow. So in this situation, since I'm looking at 2 cameras, what I might do is keep running into issues where so what I might do actually, because we can come back to the full screen in a bit, is I might lay my cameras out side by side so I can kind of look at them both. And then once you do that, all these are the same camera. All these on the lower track are the same camera over here on the right side of the screen. So I'll just copy that one. I'll highlight the whole top. I'll paste the attributes, the motion, click OK. Now all those are over there. And then I'll do the same. I'll copy, select the bottom tracks, paste the motion. Just the motion needs to be checked. And boom, now all of our tracks are side by side, and we can kind of see what works and what doesn't. This first shot, I can tell you right now, works well over here. It does not work well over here because he is not in frame. They fixed it by the second one, which that is actually really good framing. I'm going to go ahead and this is just me, how I like to work. If I like the framing on something, just gold it. I call it golding it. I don't know. That's a small little thing. This one, again, the framing is not good over here, but it's fine over here. It's a little tight on his head. And this, again, we might not even have to worry about this because later on down the line, you get the back and forth, which is what I'm talking about, where 2 characters are framed up here and 2 characters framed up here. He's not in frame, and I don't know. This camera needs to be pushed to the right. This is me critiquing. I apologize. Y'all don't got to repeat this. This is me critiquing a lot on production. Again, I wasn't in charge of this, but when I've worked on things before, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not used to all these challenges, but listen, it's a good learning experience because you get to see all the things that you shouldn't do and how to fix them. Once you've laid out and got everything synced up, and I'll show you just kind of what it looks like. We won't get into it. We're just going to do scene 3 today. And I apologize for the long intro. It's taken a while to get here. This over here is kind of what everything looks like when it's synced up. I question things like this. There shouldn't be 2 audio tracks here. So what I think has happened is these 2 aren't actually the same. Sometimes when the computer tries to sync things up, it does it wrong. So just being aware of that sort of thing. You shouldn't never see something like this. There should only usually be one, unless you have multiple microphones, and they don't have multiple microphones. They just have the one boom mic. But that's what it'll look like, and then I go through and I clean it out, and I cut out the actions and the cuts, and I just make it real clean, and I mark for me what takes I like of things. I think I picked this one because I liked some of these better, except her reaction is better at the end of this, I think.
Are you okay?
Would you like to feed the horses?
I like that little moment. We're definitely going to use that little upbeat, would you like to feed the horses moment. We're going to use that for sure. But then your structure of a scene typically is pretty straightforward, pretty generic is how I like to start. I like to establish where everybody is in a scene, so I'm going to use a wide shot. And then I'm going to then cut back and forth between speakers is typically how I would do it. And if there are reactions that I feel are good to have, then I'll put those in, and you'll see all that as we work through it. So let's get into scene 3. And I apologize if this ends up coming off as boring. This is the drudgery part I was talking about. We're going to ignore this opening thing because I just don't know what to do with it just yet. It's just going to sit there. And we're going to pretend like the beginning is here. What I thought about doing with the trees is actually masking them and having them wipe the scenes. We may end up doing that in the long run. It could be a fun little gag, but I don't know how silly to make this, so we'll see. I'm holding on to the clip just in case I want to try it. So where were we? Let's look at a couple of the walking in scenes. So we're just looking at the establishing shots, and we're going to compare a few of these entrances is what we're going to do. So pay attention to this side.
Well, looks like you two are ready to get started.
Let's get to it.
Okay. This is the grain barn, but not much of anything in it right now.
I'm going to have to actually switch over and do my actual work later on, but I need a break from editing television. Do something narrative. Television gets monotonous. It's a lot of mini segments. Right now I'm doing a countdown show, like a top 10. And I mean, every it's a little segue. Let's do Segway cam. Everything I work on as an editor has its own challenges. So I know I sound like I'm nitpicking the film a lot. That's my job, is to nitpick the film, because my job is to try to make it the best it can be. They say you make a film 3 times: when you write it, when you shoot it, and then when you edit it. And so this is the 3rd phase of trying to make that film, this film. But every film's going to have its own challenges. It's going to have its own problems, its own mistakes that were made. And that is true for any level of production. And proof is in the pudding. Right now I'm working on a television show. Top 10 countdown. And the segments I'm receiving are 5-6 minutes long. Now, it's a top 10 countdown with an intro and an outro, and the episode has to be 22 minutes, which means, vaguely, mathematically, every segment has to be about 2 minutes in length. But it also has to make sense in 2 minutes. And some things work really well in 2 minutes, and some I've come across need to be 3 minutes. So they need a whole nother minute. So now I've got to figure out, what do I do in that? Do I continue to really chop those down and try to get those as close to 2 minutes as possible? Or do I sacrifice a few other segments and cut those down in order to keep the extra time in those segments. It's probably going to be a mixture of two. Some of them are going to get chopped down, so they'll be like a minute long segment, maybe even a 30-second segment. I haven't decided yet. Like the weaker countdown parts might be shorter than the longer countdown parts. And the other issue I've run into is they haven't provided me all the top 10. So I'm missing 3. I'm missing the top 3 of the top 10. Which arguably typically would be the most interesting, right? So they could run long. And I don't know what it looks like. But what I say all that to say that all productions come with their own challenges. And it's, editing is just, your job is to work through it, find the best path forward. You've given a lot of paths. You have to choose the path. And inevitably, you are going to work on something if you become an editor. And you're going to put in all this time and effort. And people are going to look at it and go, why did you do that? Why did you cut it that way? What about, they'll go, well, I thought we had a take that looked better here, and you'll have to say, hey, that take didn't have audio. Or it did have audio and it looked great, but it didn't match anything else. Previous short film I edited, which was a film bar film. We had that sort of issue where in one of the later scenes towards the end of it, the takes were probably stronger, but the camera angles were all wrong, and they didn't match the narrative flow of everything else. And so even though it looked better and it sounded better and the acting was probably a little bit better, I couldn't use it. So it didn't fit. And that happens sometimes. And you might get a director going, hey, what happened to, and you just have to, explain that. And then, of course, inevitably, you get people who also want to come in and they want to watch the process. This is the process. Like, if, I've been doing a lot of talking, so usually I don't do this much talking. But the process is slow and monotonous, and if you're not prepared for that, I had a director when we were working on Percy Jackson. I wasn't an editor at the time. I was in visual effects, but we still edited together sequences, and we were still doing real-time animation for that sort of stuff and visual effects. And he wanted to sit over my shoulder and make real-time changes. And the process is slow, especially in animation. And I don't know that he realized that until he sat in the room with us. And then he's like, why is it taking so long to do so? I'm like, this is the process, man. This is the process. I know when you're on direct, on set and you go action, people are actually doing things. But, in visual effects and animation, you don't just yell action and things happen. Like, you got to place people and then you're moving the people. It's more like make-believe when you're a child. So I had to explain that to him. And you'd think a Hollywood director would understand that, but they don't. They learn. Everybody has it's a learning process for a lot of people. But anyway, I digress. I really digress. We're going to be looking at the left-hand screen, seeing which take we like of the entrance. You can tell I don't get out a lot. I don't get to talk to a lot of people. I'm stuck in this room.
Well, looks like you two are ready to get started.
Let's get to it.
So that's the section I'm looking at. Let's get to it. That was pretty good. I like that coming in.
Well, looks like you two are ready to get started.
Let's get to it.
All right.
That one is also pretty good. I mean, right now I'm just kind of like looking at technical things, like headspace and just character placement. I'm going to use that one.
Well, look what we have here. Looks like the two of you are ready to get started.
Let's get to it.
Don't like that one, and I tell you why. He started his line. His line coming in a little early is okay, but I would like his face to be seen. like in one of these later shots. And his head is cropped out over here, so we will not use that for sure.
Looks like the two of you are ready to get started.
Let's get to it.
What I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag that over because I know I don't like that, but I might like the rest of it. Actually, I don't think I'll like any of that. Let's skim through. No, the framing is not very good. Framing is not very good really on either camera, so I'm going to completely get rid of that. And we're going to pop this over. And, I mean, editing. Look, we made an edit. Let's look at the opening of this.
Wow. Look what we have here. Looks like the two of you are ready to get started.
Let's get to it.
All right.
That's pretty good. They're really close. Feels uncomfortable. But his delivery was really good. Again, he started early. I don't know how I feel about that.
Well, look what we have here.
No.
Looks like the two
Framing
of
is
you are ready to get
garbage.
started.
Yeah, let's get to it.
All right.
I apologize. I am so critical when I'm looking through the things. It's like my internal monologue is coming out for the purposes of this video. When I said the framing is garbage,
Well,
again, I'm looking at his head is cut off up here. No bueno. All right. This is no bueno. This is no bueno. What? Me mindful. And you know what? This is not the director's fault. This is not the director's fault. The director his job is to focus on the actors and make sure. I would say this is a DP issue. But it might not even be. I don't know if there was a DP or who was doing what. But even if, and here is, what, listen. I'm going to say something that might be controversial. The camera operators should know better. And I don't care if the DP does not catch it. If the DP does not catch a framing issue, because the DP is also doing a lot. Director of photography. They're looking at lighting and a whole bunch of other stuff. They're paying attention to the whole of the image. At least they're supposed to. But if you don't have a DP, and sometimes the director is also the DP, in my opinion, everyone who works on a production has to be able to think critically. And, you don't have to think heavily critically, but you got to do it a little bit.
look what we have.
And this,
Looks like
in my
the two of you are
opinion,
ready.
is a failure to think critically. Or they thought critically, but they didn't speak up. And I think you don't want to overstep your bounds. Certainly you don't want to overstep your bounds. You don't want to step on anybody's toes. But you should speak up when you think there's an issue. And this framing should have been spoken up. Assuming they can't go back any further. Like they can't get further back in the building in order to give them more space here. Then you need to shift the camera up. And it doesn't have to be a whole lot, but it needs to be up enough to give him headroom. Over here, the camera needs to be shifted right. That way you can still keep the shoulder of this character in. You might lose him, but that's not important. They're important in the shot. Even if you don't have them, as long as they're there and they're roughly on this side of the screen, that's what's important. And again, as a camera operator, if you're looking through your camera and you're seeing that, okay, one of the characters isn't in, who cares if they didn't hit their blocking? I'm going to tell you right now, it does. Actors need a little bit of freedom. But this has been a continuous issue you've seen in multiple frames. See, because it's fine here. So you're going, well, he didn't hit his mark. I don't care if he didn't hit his mark. I'm telling you right now, as a camera person, even if you're locked off on a tripod, swing it left and frame them up. Frame them up. That is more important. And if you don't feel comfortable making the call, you should call the DP over and have them look at the frame and go, I'm concerned about the framing. Let them make the call. Okay? You don't have to make the call. In fact, maybe you shouldn't. But you should at least speak up and say, hey, they're continuously not hitting their marks. Do you feel it'd be okay to cheat it a little bit left and make sure they're in frame? Because having the characters in frame, framed nicely, is your job. That is your job. And I can't fix it. That can't be fixed in the edit. And this is something just to keep in mind, working on your own stuff. Whatever position you're in, if you're in a position operating a camera, make sure things are framed up. If you are in a position of directing and you're not sure that you can trust your DP or your camera operators, maybe you just glance at the monitor, make sure things are correct. Because the people are going to, especially as a director, again, I think Nikki is the director. It's not his job to have to worry about this sort of thing, but people are going to associate the film with his name, which is why I want to do a good job for him. I don't really know Nikki personally, but it doesn't matter. I want to give him the best thing, the best representation of him, because ultimately that's what it's going to come down to. No one's going to think about the camera operators. They're not really going to think about the editor. Even though the producer's in charge, they're not even really going to think about the producer. We all know that the producer is the ultimate, wizard behind the curtains, pulling everything together. That's why they win Best Picture award. But at the end of the day, people associate directors with movies. And so my job is to make the director's vision or whatever look as best as I can. But that's also everybody else's job, not just mine. And so the camera operators, and I'm being a little stern here, but that's everybody's job, okay? All the way down to the PA running coffee or whatever. It is everybody's job to support the DP, the director, make sure that they're pulled in 1,000 different directions. They're worrying about 1,000 different things. It's everybody else's job in the crew to help them out, And sometimes that means you got to speak up and go, hey, I've noticed that the actors aren't quite hitting their marks or whatever. Maybe we reframe. Am I allowed to reframe? How much wiggle room do I have? Do you want me? Because they may come and go, no, listen, you lock off that camera and you don't move it. And if that is what happens, then that is what happens. But you need to be able to at least voice it. And I'm going to tell you, I can tell from the audio, the behind-the-scenes audio, none of those questions were ever raised. Which is why I'm being critical right now. Because this should not happen. As an editor, I'm going to tell you right now, this should not happen. We're going to fix it. Luckily, there's other shots. There are other takes that are better. We don't have to rely on this. And that's the beauty of filmmaking. But it's like when you go shopping. Editing is making the meal. When you go shopping, or all like shooting your film is getting the ingredients. And you want to get the best ingredients that you can get. You should not settle for getting bad ingredients if you can help it. It makes your job of making a good meal more difficult. Anyway, so I'll tell you right now, I don't like the framing really on either of these shots. We're not going to quite get rid of it because the focus here on her might be okay, depending on what we're going for. But I am going to move this sucker to the back of the bus because I don't want to get rid of it entirely, but I don't like it. This is better. This is better. He's still cut off over here a little bit more for my taste, but this is fine. He's got his headroom. Their entrance is probably fine.
Well, look what we have here. Looks like the two of you are ready to get started.
Yeah. Let's get to it.
All right.
I like those.
This here's a feed barn. Not much of anything in here right now.
Are you okay?
Would you like to feed the horses?
Would I? Show me the way.
Sounds like a blast.
This way.
That line cracks me up every single time. That's such a funny line. She delivers it so good too. You like to feed the horses? You know what? Actually, that was so good. I am gonna nix that. I'm gonna make my job easier. Where were we? Down here? Oh my gosh. So, this is great. This is good framing. This is not good framing. Again, I don't know whose fault it is. And I feel like I understand. I know what was happening. They were focused on her performance here, which is fine.
Let's get to it.
Okay.
But
Look what we have here. Looks like the two of you are ready to get started.
Yeah. Let's get to it.
they're not individuals right now in the scene. They're units, okay, or pairs, units. I don't know. And I'm getting into a lot of. I know we haven't cut a whole lot, but I'm trying to get into the thought process of editing with y'all. You got to think of them as a group. They are a group right now, unless they're singled out. You got to think of them as a group. Right now, the whole interplay in this scene is these two and these two, and they are in opposition to one another. And how are their collective reactions and personalities playing out against each other? They haven't been singled out yet. That doesn't happen yet until she gets sick and she goes off with him, and he goes off with her. Look at that. Foreshadowing. So, I mean, we're going to keep this because this is good. I like this framing. I haven't actually listened to it. We're just looking at the entrances. These are back and forth shots. This is interesting framing. I don't know how. Sometimes he looks smug, I feel, and sometimes he doesn't. And this is also pretty good. You get a little bit of shoulder here, and it reminds people of where people are standing. I golded this one. Why did I gold this one?
Yeah. Let's get to it.
All right. This here's the feed barn. Not much of anything in here right now.
I think he's so
Are
intense.
you okay?
Would you like to feed the horses?
Would I? Show me the way.
Sounds like a blast.
This way.
By the way, the outros for a lot of these are so different. For that one, he just walks out of frame. For this one over here, they walk out of frame. For some of these earlier ones, they do a pan down, which to me tells me you want me to fade out the scene or fade the scene to the next one. Also, there's a boom mic in the shot. That's the other things we got to watch out for. It's okay. They've given plenty of headroom, so we'll be able to crop it out, or we'll use AI to cut it out. You could easily do that because the scene is pretty locked off, and it's only in a couple times. So you've got a bunch of clean plates, and you just go You might not even have to use AI. You just take, what you would do is you just take one of these clean plates and mask it out and then freeze it. And I could show you how to do that real quick. Quick little side lesson. Let's duplicate that. Let's go to a section where it's clean. Then we are going to draw a tiny little mask. All right. There. And we're going to go to sequence. We're going to... No. Where am I? Come on now. Am I crazy? There it is. Video options. Add frame hold. Let me get rid of this first part. Drag this back out. And theoretically, now... Let me turn that off so we can find out. So we see the boom mic dip in. There's a good one. So you see the boom mic up here? But we masked out the section. And it matches, since this is all locked off. That little hold now covers that boom mic and you don't see it. A little visual magic. That's what we'll do at the end. If we use that shot. But that's essentially what you're looking at. It's a little visual trickery. Now it gets into issue here. But if your boom mic is not in your shot, which it is. So that's one way. What I would actually do probably is, since their feet are already kind of cut off, I would probably just actually make this a little bit bigger once we fill up. Actually, you know what? When does it fill up the frame? This aspect ratio is different than this aspect ratio. We're a little bit tighter, as you can see in one of these. And so it probably won't even be an issue. All right, so they're really far apart here, and in everything else, they're closer. So we are going to get rid of that one. Let's see what else. Let's do our entrance.
Well, looks like you two are ready to get started.
Well, looks like you two are ready to get started.
Well, look what we have here.
The line changed. All right, let me go here. Here's what we're gonna do. Let's drag these out like this, because I'm gonna stack a whole bunch of them.
Well, looks like you two are ready to get started.
That's where I'm gonna make a cut. Let's drag this one over. Nope. Stop, computer. Let's jump to the next one.
Well, look what we have here.
That's basically the same gist. What's this one?
Well, look what we have here.
Is that the end of all those? Let's look at the next one.
Well, look what...
Yes. Because everything else is just cross shots. So that's what we'll do next. So we have three choices, three options. It's just a matter of seeing what we think works best.
Well,
I'm not even going to worry about those. Let me pull a cheaty. Copy that. Pop these. Nope. Stop. paste. Is this too big? Yeah, because some... All right, so one of the cameras was 4K, one of them was 6K, and they shot... But see what I'm talking about, the aspect ratio is a little bit different, so... we're going to do that. And you see me moving quick through, but it's just repetition of the same kind of functions of copying aspects. And again, not everything's going to be perfect. They change angles slightly. I'm surprised these cameras weren't locked off. Whatever. Let's see what we like.
Well, looks like you two are ready to get started.
That's aggressive.
Wow. Look what we have here.
That's a little bit more playful.
Well, look what we have here.
Let's get rid of the first one because it's a little bit of an aggressive take. I like the idea of these characters being friendly. It makes the turn later on when they steal everything stronger, I think. Sorry, I'm taking a drink of my coffee.
Wow. Look what we have here. Well, look what we have here.
He's eyeballing him, I think, in both scenes. So here he looks at her, looks down. So here he's more focused on her, I feel. He might be looking at him, but I get the feeling. But he's really dark, and here he's lit a little bit better. The lighting's a little bit better, so we may end up using this. They're really stiff. This is they're walking in such look at this, such lockstep over on this side. But I'll tell you right now, we're going with number 3. That's going to be our intro.
Well, look what we have here.
So that is the start. What's next? What's the next one?
Let's get to it.
All right.
Let's get to it. Let's get to it and all right.
Let's get to it.
All right.
I like his... Let's get to it over here.
It's like two of you are...
Oh, more dialogue.
It's like two of you are ready to get started.
Let's get to it.
All right.
Well, that changes things.
Looks like the two of you are ready to get started.
Yeah. Let's get to it.
All right.
I like his enthusiasm in that one.
Right.
So we're gonna drag this over. Looks like the two of you are ready to get started. Let's look at this one because I golded this one earlier.
Well, look what we have here. Looks like the two of you are ready to get started.
Yeah.
He's so intense. Golly, it's so hilarious. Let me look at this one.
Look what we have here. Looks like the two of you are ready to get started.
Ooh. In this one, he looks at her instead of intensely at him, which is pretty nice. This is where I get into the complimentary phase, when I start looking at performances.
Well, look what we have here. Looks like the two of you are ready to get started.
Yeah. Let's get to it.
Narratively, I like him looking at her because it's a little bit predatory, and we've already established earlier in scene 1, I think, this feeling that he's really interested in her. We don't know why. We think, he's just interested in her, really, or overtly. So, I think I'm going to go with that. So what I'm going to do is, even though I didn't gold this, I'm going to take that cut.
Well, look what we have here. Looks like the two of you are ready to get started.
Yeah. Let's get to it.
I'm going to cut to there. Look what we have here. This is the reaction shot I like. Which one does this?
Well, look what we have here. Well, look what we have here.
Drag that over. Pop that in.
Well, look what we have here. Looks like the two of you are ready to get started.
Yeah. Let's get to it.
Looks like the two of you are ready to get started. Two of you are ready to get started.
Yeah. Let's get.
All right. So we don't need this. Wrong one. We don't need this one. And we don't need this one? Correct. Okay. Let's do... I don't know where this is going to get us. That is not even framed correctly, but we'll up that and do that. It's tight on his head, but it's okay. Copy. Paste. Rinse and repeat.
Looks like two of you are-
So there we go. So they come in.
Well, look what we have here. Looks like the two of you are ready to get started.
Yeah. Let's get to it.
All right.
And I like that. That all right being off
Let's
screen
get to
is
it.
okay.
All right.
How much more of this scene do we have?
All right.
We might leave that little bit in with her dipping her head down because it's foreshadowing that she's about to cough.
Looks like the two of you are ready to get started.
Other things you might want to look at is eye lines. He very subtly looks. He's looking at him, kind of, but he's kind of starting to go that direction, at least in head motion. So it kind of motivates that little eye shift he does.
Looks like the two of you are ready.
Close enough. It's close enough that nobody in the audience will notice. We might notice a little bit difference because we're looking at real close, but
To get started.
Yeah. Let's get to it.
All right.
well, this here's the feed barn. I think that's the next line, right?
This here's the feed barn. This here's the feed barn. Not much of anything.
There are hotkeys also. I don't know what they are in DaVinci Resolve, but for Premiere, Q will
Let's get to it.
All right.
delete anything in front of your little cursor up to that point. W will delete anything behind it. Spacebar goes. You can also hit L to move forward.
This here is.
You can go backward with
Let's
J.
get to it.
All right. This here's the feed barn.
You can
Not much of anything.
hit L multiple times
Yeah.
to speed through things. If you're trying to really watch things fast. Again, I don't know if it's the same in DaVinci or Final Cut. All my clients are in Adobe, so this is what I end up using. Where were we at?
Yeah.
Here's the feed barn. That's right.
Do it.
All right.
So what I'm doing is I'm basically just hitting Q.
This here's the feed barn. Not much of anything in it right now.
And then I'm hitting Command K to make a cut, but I'm not.
Are you okay?
Some people might go through and cut each little section. I like to do it as I go.
It's like the two of you are ready to get started.
Let's get to it.
All right.
Q.
This here's this grain barn.
Oh, grain.
Not much of anything in here right now.
I can tell you right now we're not going to use that. We're just going to get rid of that because he says feed barn every single time. Other than that, cut.
This here's a feed barn. Not much of anything in here right now.
This is the one I said I might keep because of her coughing. But I don't know.
Here's a feed barn.
I like this wide a little bit. For
Not much of anything in here right now.
the wide. Sorry, I'm thinking. What I'm thinking of is doing a close on him talking, then a wide of this, her coughing, and then cutting over to here. And that wide is mostly just kind of to get the reactions of everybody. We've already established where they're at, so it's not necessary. You could just cut back and forth.
Okay. This here's the feed bar. Not much of anything in here right now, though.
Maybe I keep it simple and just cut back and forth. We'll see. I like his hesitation.
This here's the feed bar. Not much of anything in here right now, though.
I tell you why. Because he's a criminal. He's not actually a farmhand. So, to me, the hesitation says he's thinking about it.
Well, look what we have here. Looks like the two of you are ready to get started.
Yeah, let's get to it.
All right.
Oops. What'd I do?
Feed bar.
Let's close that.
This here's the feed bar. Not much of anything in here right now.
And we're going to do kind of the same as we did before, because I'm looking at his reaction. Drag different versions out. Did I get this one as well? No, that's the other guy. That's the other guy. Some of this was...
Well, look what we have here. Looks like the two of you are ready to get started.
Yeah,
He's so
let's
aggressive.
get to it.
Okay. This here's the feed barn.
Nope, he looks at the camera. Ooh, that's a new one.
Okay.
Watch.
This here's the
He doesn't quite look at the camera, but it is close enough that I would not use it.
feed barn. Not much of anything in here right now.
I like that nonchalant, but we're not going to use it, so really I think it's just down to these two.
All right. This here's the feed bar. Not much of anything in here right now, though. This here's the feed bar. Not much of anything in here right now.
The coughing is
Okay.
distracting.
This here's the feed barn. Not much of anything in here right now, though. This here's the feed barn. Not much of anything in here right now. Not much of anything in it right now.
What do we got over here?
This here's the feed barn. Not much of anything in it right now. This here's a feed barn. Not much of anything in here right now. Not much of anything in here
Does she keep coughing?
right now.
Okay. So I think what I'm going to do is I personally like his hesitation, and since I am the one making the movie right now, my choice. Directors may feel different, but
Let's get to it.
All right. Okay. This here.
he says okay, so we got to cut a little bit of that. So we're gonna go, boom. Which one is that? Yep, we're not looking at that. I go paste.
All right. This here's the feed barn. Not much of anything in here right now, though.
And then I'm going to have her cough, which happens over here. Do I want a wide?
Here's a feed barn. Not much of anything in it right now. This here's a feed barn. Not much of anything in here right now.
I apologize for being quiet. I'm looking at that. We're going to just drag that over. And then we're going to look at which one.
This here's a
Okay.
This here's a feed barn. Not much of anything in it right now.
What I might do is take this one actually.
Thing in here right now, though.
Cut to that. Or maybe I cut to that. You know what? Let's see what both of them look like. Let's do that. And then, is that small as it needs? Yeah, that's as much. All right. Let's see what it looks like. Cutting.
This here's the feed barn. Not much of anything in here right now, though.
Are you okay?
Oh, I wanted to see what
Not much of anything in here right now, though.
I wouldn't use any more than that.
Are you okay?
It might be too much.
Right now, though.
Are you okay?
Right now, though.
No, so what I'm going to do...
Are you okay?
Oops. I am going to cut, and you may have noticed, like, I backed this up, so technically this is somewhat during the speaking part in a different thing. There's no audio, though, in it. And I like him looking around. And I also like that she is looking at him. She's got the hungry eyes. If you're familiar with the... Is it an 80s song? Hungry Eyes? She's got hungry eyes. This whole thing, she got hungry eyes. So, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't even know why he messing with her, because she does not seem invested in this relationship. She is already moving on. And he's just doing the best he can. He's just trying to have a good time. Let's see what the whole scene looks like so far.
Well, look what we have here. Looks like the two of you are ready to get started.
Yeah. Let's get to it.
All right. This here's the feed barn. Not much of anything in here right now, though.
Are you okay?
She shakes her head. How much of that do we have?
Are you okay?
What I think I'm going to do is I'll cut there. I want a reaction from Angel is the character's name, maybe? This character? Do we get a reaction from her?
Okay.
Would you like to feed the horses?
Does she have a reaction?
Are you
She does, but it's not in focus.
okay?
He looks over at her, though. That could be interesting.
Are you okay?
Would you like to feed the horses?
But we've already established we like the last, would you like to feed the horses? Right? So...
Would you like to feed the horses?
Are you okay?
Would you like to feed the horses?
that could be funny. He says, are you okay?
Are you okay?
I wonder, can we use something there?
Are you okay?
What we're going to do is take this little hand swipey that she does.
Would you like to feed the
She says. It's going to be tight. It's going to be a tight cut.
Are you okay?
Then this one.
Would you like to feed the horses?
That's so good. Listen, ain't nobody in this relationship triangle is doing the best, because he is like, boy, would I, so fast. Slide it over. We're gonna drop that in there.
Not much of anything in here right now.
That's pretty good down here. Oh, and you get Daniel looking over his shoulder. So what was our previous shot? He's looking down. She's shaking her head.
Are you okay?
Would you like?
The only thing I don't like is she keeps cutting in with her line, and I'd like it a little bit cleaner. Because I like the framing on that. I like the hand waving.
Are you okay?
Would you like to feed the horses?
Would I? Show me the way.
No, we're not going to use that.
Would you like to feed the horses?
Are you okay?
This doesn't match my would you like to feed the horses.
Would you like to feed the horses?
Where's her?
Would you like to feed the horses?
Would I? Show me the way.
I don't like his take on that one. Let's go ahead.
Are you okay?
Would you like to feed the horses?
Would I? Show me the way.
Let me go back and look at this.
Are you okay?
Would you like to feed the horses?
Yeah, I think that's going to work fine. We're here. And then we're going to cut to that one. And then we're going to cut to that one, I think. Yes. Since this is lighter. Come on now. This one probably has the same. What I do. So now you see why I talked so much at the beginning, because when I really get into editing, I'm not talking so much. Got clients blowing me up on my phone. Is that correct? Did I get that right? Man, this is so much darker. Now, I don't know how I feel about this. Like I said, I liked his reaction here. She coughs. He looks down. I'm actually going to trim this. I'm going to drag this back out.
Are you okay?
Let's see.
Are you okay?
I'm not happy with the framing exactly. It's a weird cut. What I'm thinking about doing, since we're editing at a smaller aspect ratio, so we have a lot more to work with, I'm thinking of doing something like that.
Are you okay?
Camera drifts. So here we're gonna go. We're gonna key a position. This is getting a little advanced stuff. Head kind of goes up. We're gonna move the camera up, and then I'm just gonna Bezier a little bit. So now, because the camera's moving, you're not gonna notice that little.
Are you okay?
It's just a subtle
Would
thing
you
to
like-
keep her head in frame.
Are you okay?
She's looking. And this is a question of how much reaction time do you need? Again, with movies, it depends. Sometimes you want to keep long reaction times, sometimes you don't.
Would you like to feed the horses?
But I feel like she's trying to be distracting and pull them apart, and so...
Would you like to feed the horses?
Would you like to feed the horses? Do I want to hold that? Let's see.
Would you like to feed the horses? Would you like to feed the horses?
I feel like that's long enough. Boy, would I. Show the way. Let's crunch all these in so I'm not having to look so far. Are there any stragglers? Ooh, ooh, sheesh. There is. We're almost done with this scene. So I know it seems like it took a long time, but it really didn't. This is pretty fast.
Would you like to feed the horses?
We're not using that.
Are you okay?
Would you like to feed the horses?
Would I? Show me the way.
Sounds like a blast.
Sounds like a blast. Her reaction right there is pretty good. We're gonna keep this for her.
Are you okay?
Would you like to feed the horses?
Would I? Show me the way.
Sounds like a blast.
This way.
She fumbles over her line a little bit, or she coughs through it. I don't know if I like that, but we're not going to nix it just yet.
Are you okay?
Would you like to feed the horses?
Would I? Show me the way.
Sounds like a blast.
This way.
I like that. I like it. I like it a lot.
Are you okay?
Would you like to feed the horses?
Would I? Show me the way.
I'm looking at the reaction shot over here.
This way.
Nope. We don't need any of that.
Would I? Show me the way.
Sounds like a blast.
This way.
I like the character Daniel. I like that little pause. It's pretty good. What's this one look like?
This way.
That's pretty good as well.
This way.
We're not doing this one. I changed my mind.
Sounds like a blast.
This way.
Okay, so another point of contention regarding direction. In a lot of these scenes, it happens in the house, it happens here, it happens at the car. Watch the characters' feet. I don't know what's over here. Is there no way for them to get out of frame? So often they all go and they stop and they just bunch up. Leave the frame. Leave the house, leave the barn, leave whatever you're doing, but leave the frame. The fact that they don't leave the frame here means I can't even really consider this as an option. Except this may be a last resort. Which means it's gotta be something else. That doesn't really work. We're gonna get rid of this.
Feed the horses?
Would I? Show me the way.
Sounds like a blast.
Now I think they do leave the frame over here, right? Yeah. But I'm not gonna leave on a wide. I think I'm gonna leave on a close up. Some people like to leave on a wide, but
The horse?
action is reaction, or I don't know what the term is. That's an acting thing, but
Horses?
I don't think we're gonna use that.
Would I? Show me the way.
Sounds like a blast.
This way.
Would I? Show me the way.
Sounds like a blast.
This way.
He's shaking his head, disappointed. He's looking down. Let's try cutting there. Let's go over to one of the shots that I like as a reaction. Which one is it? It's going to be one of these. It's going to be either that.
This way.
Or that. And I don't know which. Let's look.
The horses?
Would I? Show me the way.
Sounds like a blast.
This way.
That's pretty good. And everybody leaves frame, so I'm happy. Let's look at this one.
Sounds like a blast.
This way. This way.
Versus. Can't really see his eyes in this one. I don't know if I like it. I'm trying to convey that he's thinking about something. I don't know if this conveys thinking or if he looks bored, which is the reason I'm considering this, because the little head motion he does, where it kind of dips down, and then whips around. I don't like that. Almost feels, I don't know. I'm trying to decide whether it gives me like the right kind of feeling of him considering something, or being resigned to consider something. You know, let me give it a little bit more. Heads and tails is another terminology you might hear. So if someone says, give me more head on it or give me more tail on it, head is it's the beginning of the clip, tail is at the end of the clip, so it just means drag it out. I can't give too much because he's putting the thing in his mouth. Some movies will do that. They'll just ignore the continuity like that. I am a little bit of a continuity nerd. I think I'm just going to end up going with that one. Some people go, oh, it doesn't matter. He puts in twice. It matters to me. And that's my animation background. I'm going to be completely honest, because continuity is not necessarily key in animation, but it kind of is. So I think I'm going to go with this cut. Let's watch the whole scene from the beginning. Again, I don't know. I'm probably going to cut this. It might not be necessary. It goes on a little long.
Well, look what we have here. Looks like the two of you are ready to get started.
Yeah, let's get to it.
All right. This here's the feed barn. Not much of anything in here right now, though.
Are you okay?
Would you like to feed the horses?
Would I? Show me the way.
Sounds like a blast.
This way.
I mean, I have it as a separate scene. I have like scene 4 is where they're at. Oh, snap. I have scene 4 where they're, but technically it might be considered the same scene. I have it as a different scene. Feeding the horses. I don't know. The other thing I ran into. I think I mentioned it at the beginning, where I had found some extra shots that I threw it in additional footage folder that were for. They didn't have audio, like the camera hadn't run the audio on them, and so they went with certain scenes, but because they didn't have audio, they didn't sync up. And I had to do a little bit of manual stuff. I think I mentioned that at the beginning. Let's just quickly skim through, make sure there's no barn scenes. This is them walking out. This is one of those, which when they go together, they go back to the house. We'll pull that. We don't need those. That's another walking back to the house from a different angle. Again, see, and here's where I'm hesitant to cut that one shot, because it establishes in my mind a change in the story where they go into the barn together, but they exit the barn separately. And I think it gives like a good sense of division between the characters. This comes after her hay fever. Window. Nope. I never ended up using any of this. This is another window shot. Where the heck is the car? Yeah. Honestly, so I've been working on my own little scripting out of a short film I've wanted to do. It's not where it needs to be just yet for people to know exactly what's going on. I've been working on it a couple of years, and truthfully, I just need to pull the trigger on doing it. But I am, because of my background, I'm a preparation nerd, so when I do it, I'm probably going to have like storyboards and Animax. I'll probably have done all that myself, just because I am a control freak. That sounds bad, but I just like to be as prepared as possible so that we don't run into some of these continuity issues, because I will be the one editing it on the background, and so I'm thinking about some of that in the pre-production phase. So how does this scene fit in? This was the length of the scene beforehand, with all the extra footage. This is the length of the scene after. And that, my friends, is called editing. So what I'm going to look at real quick, we're not listening to any sound. We're just going to see that they leave the house. That's another good thing. Sometimes it is good just to watch your thing with no sound to make sure visually it works. You know what? That flip works with that. Now, here's the thing. So they leave the house. It doesn't really matter what order they leave the house in, because it doesn't establish anything. Here it establishes that she's on his right. Really, continuity, they should be walking this direction. She should be on his left, because, as we established, when they enter the barn, they're reversed back. I don't know if it's that important. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Let's cut this like this and just see what that looks like. It might be too quick of a transition, which is why I'm saying, even though this shot is back, or they're backwards, it might be okay. It might be okay. What I might do is right there where they enter, cut. Because it might be to the point where nobody notices. I mean, they're blocking wise, they're wrong on that middle shot, but it might be forgivable for the purposes of this. Because I like, now looking at it, I like having a transition shot. It just gives a little bit of breathing room to the story. And they're changing locations, but they've done this. They've done this multiple times. So, and what I mean by that is going back to scene one. And this has been a problem. This is why I say pay attention to your blocking when you're doing your movie. And then we'll close out. They get out of the car. He's on the right. She's on the left. Where is he now? He's on the right, she's on the left, right? And you would go, that's correct. No, because the car, here we're facing the car this way. Here we're looking backwards at the car. He should be over here. blocking wise, she should be over here. And it should be that way for the whole scene because, like, they should be reversed. He should be here. She should be here. And believe it or not, they actually did that for one shot. But the problem is they didn't do it for any other shots. And so I had to, this is where we're doing the trickery. The magic trickery shot we're going to do to make it fit everything else. Because literally no other place was their blocking correct. They had switched blocking in between the car. And now you can solve that. You can solve that change by simply having a shot in between where they go this way. And then you show her maybe walking in front of him and him reaching out and stopping her, which is what I would have had. And they settle in to this position. Now, the other issue that a concern that we have, and it's nothing we can do about it, is he has no luggage and she has a purse. He has luggage. She probably still has the purse. I don't know. But here, does he have luggage still? Let's cut back. It's close enough you can't tell if he has luggage or not. He has luggage. He has a purse. Okay. But the luggage is down. It's actually down. It's on the ground. So he doesn't have. But is it a continuity issue? Yes. Is it something that people are going to pay attention to? I think on first watch, no. If they're getting nitpicky as an editor or whatever into it later, they might notice it later on. But I don't think they're going to notice it. And the reason why I haven't worried about it is the focus of this shot is them walking up on them just to establish. And then the rest of the time we're focused on the people. We're not really paying attention to the luggage in their hands. So it's not that vastly important. Here's the other thing. And this is something I didn't realize until just now. So proof that even I can miss it. He's got green luggage here, right? Look at his luggage here. I just noticed this. I didn't notice it before. This is entirely different luggage. I've been editing this. I didn't even notice it. My brain just went luggage, which tells you that's how the human mind works. So you're going to run into continuity issues like that. Sometimes you shouldn't. The props should be all the same. And there should be somebody tracking this. There wasn't anybody tracking this. I can tell it's fine. I didn't notice it. I don't know that anybody else is going to notice it. I think some people notice it right off the bat. Some people are going to go just do kind of probably what my mind did is go, okay, he picked up luggage and he's carrying luggage. It's just, I can't believe that's so funny. Anyway, this is an insight into editing, guys. And the process just rinses and repeats itself. I've got a few more scenes. There's the one in the barn. There is the one where she's passing out on the couch. These are all long takes and stuff, and they'll get cut down. It's a lot of like, put it on the hat. And you go back and forth between reaction shots like you do. You just build it out. Establishing shot and then reaction shots. This one edits itself pretty much where he'll look down. I'll probably actually use that shot of him digging in the purse. What I actually might do, I haven't decided. I have an option when it comes to this section between them and them. I'll have to make a decision about whether or not I cut back and forth between the stories, or whether I let one story play out and then the other story. I'm going to cut them separately. And I'll end on this because we're not going to go through it today. I'm going to cut them separately like I did with the other scenes. When I bring them into the main timeline, at that moment in time, I'm going to look at them and decide whether there are points where I can swap back and forth between the interactions. And see if that makes sense narratively. And what I might actually do is duplicate the timeline and do one version one way and one version the other way and see what it looks like. Look at this. There's like over an hour of footage still. But I can tell you based on... So we're at 2 minutes, 3 scenes in. There's about 6 or 7. The whole thing is going to be less than 10 minutes, I think. Depends on how long some of those other scenes go. Yeah. So we'll see how it goes. It should clock under 10 minutes. It might even clock in closer to 6 minutes or 7 minutes total for the film. Not including credits. So credits will be what? A minute or 2, maybe. So. That's that. That is editing. Again, if we don't get to meet up, then hopefully this is helpful. I'm just so swamped, and then I'm going to leave town. So I didn't want to leave y'all hanging high and dry with like nothing to help out or show as an example. So hopefully this sort of thing, hopefully it's helpful. I'm going to continue to sit in dark. I'm probably going to close this. I have to open up that thing I was working on. You want to see it? Maybe I'll show you a sneaky peeky. Let me close this and bring it up. Actually, I probably shouldn't. I forget signed NDAs on these things. I can't show it. I don't know if I particularly signed an NDA on the one I'm working on, but you know what? To be on the safe side, probably shouldn't show anything. But I can't even get the hard drive to spin up. The company sent me this hard drive full of all this footage and the project stuff, and it's been the hard drive works some of the time and doesn't work some of the time, and it's a pain in the butt. It's a pain in the butt. Yeah, that's it. That's the editing process, man. It is something else. It is tedious. A lot of people don't like editing. I've done a lot. So I started off in visual effects, and I worked on a lot of movies. What you see behind me, I don't know if you can see. I worked on Halo, and I worked on Now You See Me, and there's Fantastic Four, the one that nobody seemed to like. But I worked on it. I worked on Pete's Dragon, stuff like that. And that was all in like visual effects, previs, animation stuff. And then I switched over to become a motion graphics artist. And because during my visual effects time, I'd learned how to do a lot of that sort of stuff. And a buddy of mine said, hey, we've got a, and that's all like, it's very gig-based. Visual effects stuff is very gig-based, kind of like what I'm doing now, actually. But then I switched over to do motion graphics because a buddy of mine had an opening at his company, or the company he worked at, and they were looking for an animator and a motion graphics artist. And they're like, hey, can you do this? I said, yeah. They're like, would you like to do it full time? You get a 401k, you get a healthcare plan, you get all that wonderful stuff. And I was like, sure, because I was looking to start a family. So stability is always good for that sort of stuff. So I left, and that was in marketing. So I left the film industry, went over to marketing, did that for a few years. While I was doing that, I became really good friends with like a few editors and videographers, and to the point where I started doing it myself. I was like a backup editor also and a backup videographer. And then my first child was born, and we wanted to get out of California and move back home close to the family. And a job opened up to be a videographer and editor. And so I, having not gone to school, but I taught myself a lot of the stuff. Most of, I'll tell you right now, most of film education you can probably teach yourself. You don't have to go to university. As long as you can prove what you've done. It's my opinion that YouTube and everything else and learning on sets are just as good, if not more valuable, than going to university and blowing all your money. As a person who went to university and blew all his money on an animation degree, I have a master's in animation. What do I use it on anymore? So, I mean, you could argue there's, I learned some valuable lessons and some stuff, but I did get a wife at school who was in the same field as me. And she went on to toy design. So she got her degree in animation, went on to toy design and product design and things like that, illustration, which is all stuff that she does now. So we don't even use our animation degrees. Sometimes it comes into play, like being able to do some of those little visual trickeries, having that background is good for that. But, I could have learned it online. In fact, I ended up learning a lot later on online and just from other people than I learned at school. That's why I'm saying, school is good for some things, but if you can get experience doing it yourself or other ways, that's key. What was I saying? That's how I fell into editing and camera work. I have my own camera rig. It's off screen. So that's my little camera rig that I shoot with. And it's great. Small, looks professional, shoots 4K. And since I do a lot of like real estate and talking head stuff, this is absolutely perfect for what I need. So yeah, and this is actually basically what they used to shoot this. I think this is a 4K. I think they used a 6K. One of the cameras might have been a 4K. So it may have been this exact type of camera. I don't know if it had all these fancy attachments. Some of this, so you got this sort of hood here, and the hood, in my opinion, again, could be controversial. My opinion, this sort of thing is mostly, if you're using ND filters, you can slide them in here, and that's real good. Neutral density filters is an ND filter. That helps control your light. Having a hood like this can help control your light. But mostly what this is for, this section, is it is to make you look more expensive to the client. Because you take this off and it's just like the long lens of a regular camera. That's all it is. This is just, I don't know if you can see, it's just a little attachment that goes on the front. And but clients look at it and they go, oh my gosh, did you see how fancy that camera is? Yeah, you know how much this attachment cost? Like $20. It's a cheap one. It is just to it's not cheap. It's carbon fiber. It's nice. But let's be realistic, you don't need it to shoot. You don't need to shoot a film, you don't need it to shoot anything. This is mostly just to make, at least in what I do, make clients go, ooh, that camera looks so fancy. Look how beefy it is. The camera is not that beefy. the camera, it's got a cage on it. So the camera itself is, you know, it's here. And then I put this big cage on it, and then I have handles, and I have a top handle, and you get all that, and it makes your camera look way more fancy. On all in all, this is probably, it might be like $100 worth of gear on here. I mean, excluding the hard drive. I have an external hard drive, which that's expensive, but it's necessary. It holds all my footage. So, other than that, everything else, some of it's necessary. Like, I would say the cage, this is just sidebar. This isn't even editing stuff. The cage and handles and things like that, that is helpful. Right, when I'm shooting, this makes the camera more stable to shoot with. But again, this section right here, which I love, and it can be helpful if you know how to use it. You don't always, though, because I have filters that go directly on the lens. So that's where I'm going to do my filters. I'm not going to use this necessarily as a filter matte box thing. That's what that's called, matte box. What did I call it? I don't know. But truthfully, it is just there to, you know, I'm not going to take it off. I can show you all later, some other time. It's just to, you know, it's partially just to impress clients. I keep looking up here because I have my stream, my recording going on. But it impresses clients. Clients look at it and they go, oh, that looks like a movie camera because it's got that hood thing. And because it looks kind of like a movie camera, like they remember, even though it's smaller, it's a smaller form factor than you see in like when they had the big reels. A client will associate that with production value. And so you can charge more money. And if you can charge more money, that is good for you. The client likes it. They like spending, believe it or not, they go, oh, I'll spend the extra money because it's professional. You know, because the hood. It's going to be professional. It's going to look the same either way. But they like the fancy gear. So spending $25-$30 on something that's going to, then I can turn around and, you know, justify my prices a little bit higher because it looks more professional because it's got that hood thing on the front. That helps you out in the long run. And that is something that I don't know a lot of people talk about pricing. This edit that I'm doing for the short film, I'm doing for free. But I'll tell you right now, if I was charging for it, doing it for free. If I was charging for this edit, I would charge somewhere. You know, I'd charge $10,000 easy, probably $10,000. If I was really helping somebody out, I felt bad for them, I might charge 6 or 7. I wouldn't go below 6, so it would be somewhere between 6 and 10. The reason I'm saying 10 now is because now that I'm in it, and there's like so many like continuity issues and things that I'm having to solve on the back end, using expertise that fortunately I have. That's why I would go, because I'm going to have to end up doing a lot of more visual effects work in the back end to solve some issues. Typically, if it's just straightforward editing, then it'd be more the cheaper side. Cheaper, but it's like $6,000. I charge like $1,500 a week. Most of my and this is the other thing. Some people don't like to talk about money and charging what they charge clients. I'll tell you right now. My television client pays me $1,500 a week to edit. Now, it's a beast. I'm editing 22-minute episodes, and it takes me 3 weeks for just a rough cut. It takes me almost 2 months to get a final for a 22-minute episode. It's about 60 days. And I also charge a $65 to $80 an hour, depending, to edit anything. So I'll typically look at a project and try to estimate how much time I think it's going to take me, and then I'll give a preliminary estimate of that sort of thing. And I tried. I'm pretty good. I've done it long enough that I'm pretty good at looking at something and go, I think it's going to take me this amount of time, and this is what I'm going to charge for it. Some people, I'll tell you right now, there's people in Film Bar who they don't charge enough. And Rhodes and I have talked with a few people about this. Some of the younger people, they don't charge enough. And I don't know if that's because they're still young and they're new at this, or if they're nervous, or they think, if I charge too much, I'm going to lose clients, I'm going to lose opportunities. Yeah, you might. But you'd be surprised that you might not. I don't lose that many clients based on money. The average market value for what I do is somewhere between $45, $50 and like $85 an hour. And that depends on your experience. I charge $65, which is kind of right in the middle. I want to say, is it 65 or is it 80? I should know. I have a chart with my prices, so I don't have to remember myself. But yeah, the whole topic of what to charge people is, I think it's an important one. People don't talk about it enough. But what I would say is, whenever you decide what you want to do, simply look at the overall, and the data's available online. Just look at the overall what people charge, the median income or whatever, or salary, or I guess it would be salary. See what it is and judge for yourself. You go, I'm a little bit new or whatever. Whatever I will tell you right now, do not ever go with the base price. Don't do it. So let's say it's $30 an hour. 40 is close enough to 30 that people aren't going to make that big of a difference, and it's extra $10 in your pocket. There's taxes and whatnot, but every little bit helps. And here's why I say you need to price yourself appropriately. Don't lowball yourself. Even if you don't feel you're worth it, pretend, fake it till you make it. It's going to serve you in the long run to price yourself just up, because you can always back off. If you go, if you price yourself at 40, 45 and something, someone goes, well, is there any way you could come down? You go, I can come down $5 an hour or whatever. You could come down a little bit. You give yourself the wiggle room to negotiate a little bit. You don't want to negotiate too hard, but you can go, you know what? For you, and I don't always do this. Sometimes I just look at people and go, I'm sorry, the price is the price. But sometimes if I've worked with somebody for a while, like I have a buddy, Ed, who feeds me a lot of work, and sometimes for him I'll come down a little bit, but I can afford to come down a little bit because of where my range is. And so I can go, okay. And I'm still not underpricing myself by doing that. So that's why I'm saying you don't want to lowball yourself, because if you lowball yourself and then you're having to negotiate and go down, then you're pricing yourself out and it's not worth it to you. The other thing that it causes is if your prices are too low. And there are some people, again, in Film Bar who their prices are too low, and those people work all the time. They are running and gunning. They are fighting and clawing for every scrap and gig that they can get. They are making huge travels. Like, they're driving to Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina, or we're in South Carolina. I've seen some of them go to Georgia. I've seen some of them go to Texas for a job. I've seen some of them go to Florida for a job. If you are a single person, you got nobody else you're tied to, you can do that. And sometimes when you're younger, you have to go where the work is. I did that when I was younger. In fact, I went to California. I was living in Georgia, and I went to California for work. And I ended up staying there for, 12 years or something. Sometimes you have to make those big moves at the beginning. But when you get to the point where you can really, this is my price and this is what I want to do. For me, my prices may be higher, and I may be missing out on some smaller clients, but it's made up by bigger clients. Maybe not at the beginning, the reality is you got to eat, right? So you're going to do what you ever have to do. But I have found, by and large, that I make just as much money with less clients than I did with smaller clients. And I was killing myself with smaller clients and underpricing myself at the beginning. And now that I've learned how to price myself properly, I have a third of the clients I used to have, but I'm making the same, if not more money. But I'm working less, which for me, I have kids, I have a wife, I have friends, I want to go out and do things. I have a garden I want to be in, grow tomatoes or whatever. I've gotten my life balance back because I'm not afraid to price myself higher and be like, and then I make that money and then I just bank it, and then I'm not having to. I could hustle and try to make more, but at some point in time, I have an X amount that I need, and I'm happy with that. If I make more, great. If not, but like for instance, like this gig that I'm on right now, I'm editing one episode for like the next 60 days, and it's going to net me enough to cover the next few months. And it's not the only work I have. Like, I have other things. So, but I'm not slammed with work. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not so slammed that I can't take on side projects like this for free for film bar friends and do like little passion projects. If I had been, having to hustle and kill myself, I wouldn't be able to do this. I still barely can do this because I am a little slammed right now, but that's not my fault. That's not my fault. They gave me more than I expected, but I'm being paid for it. So what I'm saying is, price yourself appropriately. Some free advice, so that you're not killing yourself. You don't want to, because if you're killing yourself at your job, you're gonna end up hating it. I don't care what industry you're in, you're gonna end up hating it. So, and this can be a fun industry to work in. It can be a not fun industry to work in. I have some horror stories from my Hollywood days, but for another time, another video. If we're get to meet each other sometime and chat in person, I can fill you all in on the dirty little secrets of Hollywood. But yeah. Hope this helps. Hope I didn't ramble too much. Hope at least the middle segment was helpful. And the way of thinking about editing, hopefully that's helpful, and how it all production works together. So peace. I don't know how to close out video, so I'm just going to end the video. That's it. Goodbye. I'll see y'all later. I just said bye, and I'm back several hours later to close out this video because I realized right before I was going to export it out and upload it that Dina is a realtor. Realtor? Is that how you say it? And so I've been talking about prices, and this might be helpful for her because like I said, I've shot a lot of real estate. I put a video montage right here. Pricing for real estate is actually different. So I was talking about doing what, like $65 an hour, I think is what I said, for editing. That is not how I price for real estate. Real estate is an entirely different pricing structure. And this is not a pitch to hire me. I mean, hey, listen, hey. But what I'm saying is, I know there's a lot of real estate agents have moved into the video space, and some of them do it themselves, and some of it they partner with other people to like go off and shoot homes. So typically that's an entirely different pricing structure. It's not $65 an hour for that. It's probably actually closer to $25 an hour, actually. And typically with real estate in particular, and this is specifically targeted as just random knowledge information to you, Dina. It is, I don't know why I'm trying to guess. I actually have it all written down. This is for me personally and a few other people I know. It's roughly, for like videography, for 2,000 square feet, it's 150, up to like 6,000 square feet, which is going to cost you like 550, and that's going to typically get you not just going and filming, but it's going to get you what do I have here? I was going to say that also gets you at least some sort of walkthrough video, but that's not the, oh yeah. 4,000 for me. If I was shooting some 4,000 square feet and under, shooting it and doing the video is $500. 6,000 square feet and under, shooting it and doing a video. That includes drone work because I'm a certified drone pilot. I charge $800, and then if I'm doing like high-end community stuff, that's when you're getting to like $1,000 for some sort of video. But $1,000 for a community video is on the cheap, in my opinion. And I've done stuff where a lot of the North Carolina high-end communities is typically where I've worked in real estate. I haven't done single-family homes. I'd love to do that sort of stuff. And of course, I would like negotiate probably with people. But anyway, what I'm saying is, the pricing structure, don't look at like $65 an hour as that sort of thing, because that would be cost prohibitive if people were doing it that way. Because then you're being charged for the actual video shoot, which a day rate for any sort of videographer is sometimes like $600, $800. And then you're not even getting a video out of it. They just shot video. That's no bueno. So getting the video out of it also at like $500, I think is pretty good. And that's typically just like your typical walkthrough sort of videos, a minute or two. But anyway, I just wanted to attach that at the end because I realized as I was actually editing this video to go up, that the pricing is not exactly accurate. I don't know why I'm telling y'all about money. I am not a financial person. Listen, not financial professional, asterisks right here, but don't undersell yourself. Follow your dreams, that sort of thing. You know what I've realized my dream is not even this. I came to this realization yesterday when I was editing that show I was telling y'all about. And now segue out of this. My dream is I think gardening. Listen, I've been outside. The weather is so nice. And I get to go outside and I get to play in the dirt and the rocks and play with plants. I mean, that's what I did as a child. And if I could figure out how to do that as a living and make money to feed everybody, have a house, I think I would switch careers and become a farmer. I don't have the knowledge to do it. And I mean, that seems like slim margins. I also don't, And I'm not a person who likes to scrape by if I can help it. I'll do what I have to, but come on, man. Your boy, if I don't have to go back to fast food ever again. Anyway, sorry this video's so long. If you watched to the end, thank you for watching. Hope this helps. Hopefully I see you out at future film bars. Or if y'all just want to like grab coffee or something sometime, Facebook me, hit me up or whatever. If I'm free, I'm happy to come out. I love just meeting people, so I'm happy to do that. Yeah. And when I get to coloring and stuff like that, like the coloring phase and the final sound phase stuff, maybe I'll make another video, or we can get together then and I can show you how to do whatever. So hopefully it's helpful. Peace out.